All right, guys, I think we are live. Welcome to today's live stream with the owner of Speakeasy. You guys are all pretty familiar with the platform. Some of you guys may be new, so we'll maybe do a little once over. But this is Kirk from Speakeasy. Sorry, I'm doubled up here. This is Kirk from Speakeasy. Of course, he's the project owner. You guys should be familiar with him from the chats and everything. He's a legend in his own right. But he's jumped on with us today to talk a little bit through the protocol and something new that they're doing, something new and exciting that hasn't been talked about before. Really happy to have him on the channel because him and I have talked offline a ton, and of course in the chat rooms and everything. I've covered his protocol quite a bit, but we've never had a chance to actually get in on AMA together. So now is that opportunity, and I'm excited to have you, Kirk.
Hey, Scott, I'm so happy to be here. And also, like you said, just thrilled to finally get to do this with you. We talk a fair amount, like you said, and haven't had a chance to do this yet. So I'm excited for that and excited to share some new alpha that is coming down the pipe for the protocol.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, we talked a little bit offline about a few different directions to go. There is probably a few people who aren't super familiar with Speakeasy or have been thinking about getting in or trying to figure out what the entry point is or what the protocol is all about.
Sure.
So should we start off? I've done obviously some tutorials on Speakeasy, but should we start off? Do you want to give just a good kind of once over of how the protocol works?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'll try to get through it fairly quickly for those of you who know it or are in the protocol, but probably helpful for those that haven't. So basically, I got a little pitch deck here. So yeah, that looks like it's up on the screen. So let me talk everybody through it real quick. So basically, this graphic is just showing you an overview of how the protocol works. And probably the most important thing to know about this at this level is that we operate on the BNB token. That is our native token in the protocol. So it's BNB in, BNB out. And that was by design because we didn't want, there are lots of challenges involved with running your own native token, for one. And secondly, we wanted to make sure that everybody understood the value of what they were putting in as well as what they were getting out. So it just challenged us to sort of do it in a way that was a little more conservative, a little more responsible, and that's worked out pretty well. So the way that it works, we've been up and running, I guess I should mention, for 3 months now, and paying out consistent rewards every week to all of our almost 400 investors in the protocol at this point. So the way the protocol works is pretty simple. You go ahead and you will deposit your BNB into our primary wallet that we call the pot, and 50% of that deposit is locked forever in that contract and earmarked towards paying back rewards to yourself and other members. The second 50% of it goes into a second wallet called the bank. And the bank's job is to simply invest those assets into other external protocols. Because the main thing, Scott, that we really wanted to try to do was to take an ROI contract like this and see how long we could make it sustain. That was really our goal. And so there's really only one way to do that, and that's to generate revenues. So the whole thing was designed around that. So one of the ways that we do that is through taking part of the investment that we bring in and investing it into outside protocols. We're primarily in 3, as you see on the graphic, and they are EMP, which is, I have a lot of background with that protocol, Elephant Money, and then Wolf Capital as well. So these are the 3. We have some other investments, smaller investments in some other protocols that we're looking at, but the primary money is there. So that's one way that we generate revenues to come back to the pot. We collect our rewards from these protocols every day. Well, with Wolf, as you know, it's every week. And take those, and we don't compound them back into these protocols. We take them and we convert them back to BNB and bring them right back into the pot so that we're continually feeding what we're doing and hopefully not touching the principal too much. So that's the first revenue source. The second revenue source is through the sales of our NFTs. The program is pretty heavily, it works pretty heavily on the NFT concept. And so let me just talk about that very quickly. we have, you can come into the protocol without any NFTs at all. And we call that a Speakeasy guest. And so if you just deposit BNB into the contract without one of our NFTs, you can earn a flat 0.25% a day on that BNB. And that's it. You don't have any opportunities to participate in any of the other things we do. We have had no one do that. By the way, everybody that's come into the protocol has gotten at least one NFT because they see the value in it. And really what our NFTs do is boost that 0.25 rate. So the first level of NFTs you can get into is what we call our membership key cards. There are two types. There's a silver and a gold. They functionally do the same thing, just at different levels. So if you buy the silver membership key card, that gives you a 0.25 boost on top of the base 0.25. And so now you're earning 0.5 a day. And the gold works similarly, but it gives you a 0.5 boost. So now you're earning 0.75 a day. So they do the same thing. The gold one's a little more expensive to buy, but you get a bigger boost. So you can buy those NFTs and hold them in your wallet and get that daily APR, and you can stop right there if you want. Or you can take it one more level and pair them with what we call our cocktail NFTs. And they work basically the same way. As you can see, there's two sets. There's a silver set of cocktails that goes with the silver membership and a gold set of cocktails that goes with the gold. And you can't intertwine, or you can't mix them. And you also can't stack them. So it's one cocktail with your membership. But they functionally work the same way, meaning they just provide another boost to your APR. So depending on which key card with what cocktail you have, you can earn your way up all the way to as high as 1.5% a day. That is the max that the protocol allows. There are some special promotions and things we do that theoretically could take you over 1.5, but you don't get it. It still just caps right there at 1.5. So basically, once you have the setup that you want, you're just earning on the BNB that you deposited. So this isn't theoretical, as I mentioned. We've been up and running for 3 months now, and so again, we're generating revenues through these three protocols, and when there's about $150,000 in combination in these right now. And like I mentioned earlier, we're taking these rewards out and bringing them back to the protocol. Then we're also earning through the sales of those NFTs I just mentioned. And that is the second way that we generate revenues, because since our NFTs aren't typical in the sense, a lot of times, especially if you have a protocol with a native token, you'll buy an NFT and then it will reflect you token just for holding it, usually a native token. That's pretty typical. Since we're not doing it that way and we're not having to directly pay out on these NFTs, we're just paying boost, which is time. The revenue that we capture from selling them is 100% profit to the protocol. So we're able to take that and put it into these investments and such to generate even more rewards coming back. So to wrap it all up, basically the Speakeasy protocol, like I said, is an ROI contract. It is not a daily ROI contract. However, like most that you see, it is a weekly ROI contract. And again, these mechanics were done by design. We wanted everything to go low and slow. Since you can't compound daily, there's no hyper compounding, there's no soft FUD affecting people, bailing out of the protocol. Once a week you interact with your contract, as you've shown in some of your tutorials, and then you decide whether or not you want to claim it, which we call cash out, or you want to let it ride, which is what we call compounding, and you just work the program from there. And that week-long thing is probably one of the biggest keys to success for us as we've gotten into it, because it just does as intended. It keeps things pretty mellow, and it also buys us time as a treasury, because since we're earning what I like to call real crypto money, blue chip crypto, BNB in this case, we are not just printing it out of nowhere. We have to go out and earn it and bring it back. That takes time. I mean, especially in this environment, there's not a lot of protocols that are paying out consistently. So it takes us some time to do it. So that's one of the other reasons that we wanted to go to a weekly situation rather than a daily. So Basically,
I
that's
like that too, because I think it smooths out people's emotions. Like you said, if the soft FUD comes through, everyone just has a knee jerk reaction, so they're constantly watching token prices or whatever it is. And so if it's a week long stretch, it calms people down and makes them realize that no matter what happens, I can't take an action for another so many days. And then it makes people realize that sometimes these little FUD comments or whatever that normally kind of spike protocols and can cause a bank rush, they're really not that big of a deal, and averaged out over time makes the protocol a little bit smoother.
Yeah, that's what I found to be the case in watching it actually go, and the community has come back too and said that they really enjoy it, for a couple of reasons. One, because with BNB they can understand again the value of that. It's not 800,000 X tokens, that if you have 0.55 BNB, that's your reward. You know how much that is. You know what that is worth. So there's that aspect, and plus over a week of compounding rewards, it adds up. So you're dealing with a fair amount of money every week. So that's kind of fun that you're actually choosing whether or not you're going to take those funds or roll them back in. And really, the other thing that I really wanted to try to do with this protocol is to do everything we could, like I said, to sustain and to get as many investors to at least ROI as possible. So I have no problem when people claim. I like to do a combination of claiming and compounding, but we're all about that. And we've gotten into what I'm now calling our ROI season. Because we've been around long enough now that the very first wallets that came into the protocol when we launched are now ROIing. Every week we have more and more ROI'd wallets. We also ROI a wallet once a week as a prize. So we are, now into the juicy part where people are starting to actually earn real profit. So that's fun to watch people do that.
Definitely. And I would say one more perk that you didn't mention there that I like is I'm a busy man. I know a lot of these other folks are too. They're looking for sort of some passive income. You got to keep your finger on the pulse to make sure everything's going smoothly. So you can't just set it and forget it. But it's one of those protocols that I'll just drop in periodically throughout the week and check. It takes 2 seconds. And then I know that on my claim day, I come in and I either let it ride or I claim. And so just not having to spend a ton of time in thinking about, hyper compounding or switching my strategy all the time. I don't really have to do that. And I'm like 80% to ROI. And so the next couple times for me are probably going to be to let it ride, build it up a little bit. But it's one of those protocols. And I know Kerm said it a bunch and others in my chat that we're not super concerned about waking up and, not being there tomorrow. BNB, of course, is going to be there. It's going to hold its value. And, and of course you're super solid. You're continuing to develop and innovate. So it's one of those ones where we wake up, we know it's going to be there. If I go on vacation for a week and I come back and it's my claim day, I won't have a second thought at all about whether or not it's going to be there and be sound. So yeah, we appreciate that. But that's one big perk is that it's a little bit more hands off than some of these other protocols out there.
Well, thanks. That's a real compliment. I really appreciate it. It's nice to hear. And that's what we're shooting for. I mean, like you, I've been in a million different projects, and a lot of them do require a lot of your time and attention. And so this one is a lot of people use the word passive, but this one is pretty much as passive as you can get.
Yeah, for sure.
In DeFi. With that as an overview, should I roll into the next part of this, or did you want to talk more about this?
No, I think that's pretty smooth. So for me in particular, if you guys were wondering, I originally got in the protocol after talking to Kirk for a while. I got my silver MKC NFT, and then I was able to buy one of the drinks. I was lucky to get one of the good cocktails. And then after letting it ride a little bit, I got a little extra boost. And then you did that just promotional shot sale or whatever, which helped kick me up to that 1.5%. So everyone takes their own path. That's kind of the cool thing about the gamification of, depending on which NFTs you buy, it's going to put you in whatever rate range that is. But really solid payout all the way around. I'm not surprised actually that no one has come in just as a at that 0.25%, which is good and passive, but that people bought the NFTs. And like you said, that just allows you to allocate that somewhere else. So I think it's a clever design, and I haven't seen anyone else do it like this. So structure the a protocol like this. And there's a lot of copycat protocols out there, even the ones that are good. I mean, you copy the stuff that's great,
Sure.
but I do think what you did was a little different. And so I think it's the only thing out there that's still functioning that works like this.
Yeah, exactly. So before I jump into the drinks thing, I probably should just real quickly take you over to the Dapp, to the website. And you've probably seen this, everybody's seen this that's watched Scott's tutorial videos, but I won't go through how to do it. But we also are kind of big on the transparency thing here. And so there's a section down on our the website called Protocol Performance, where you can see specifically in more detail, not just what protocols we're in, but even what products or farms we're in within those protocols, how much we have in the bank, how much we have in the pot. All those kinds of things are there for you to see. Some of them are updated live with the contract, and some of them are manually updated every day or two. So you can always be looking at this to kind of get a snapshot of what the protocol is doing. And then also with those cocktail NFTs, in this section, there's a link to each one. They're all minted. So if you wanted to get into the protocol now and you wanted to buy a cocktail, you would buy it from NF Trade, which is our marketplace partner. So you would just click on the cocktail you were interested, go look at the price, and purchase it. You can mint the key cards here directly from us. Here's the silver and the gold. So it's all pretty self-explanatory on the website. And Scott's got, I think, a couple different tutorials if you have any questions beyond that. So anyway, with all of this said about the protocol, and especially I've always maintained, and today I think I even said it, is, we don't run our protocol on a native token, and we did that on purpose. So the next new part that just launched a week ago in our protocol is a native token. So why would we do that? Well, the drinks token is new, and there's some very specific reasons that we did this. But it is pretty important to understand that this isn't changing what you just saw. What I just talked about is absolutely the same as it's always been and always will be. We're not now switching the rules midstream. I don't dig that. And we're not saying, hey, we used to pay you out in BNB, now we're going to pay you out in our own token. It's not that at all. It's just that what I discovered as we got months into this was that the protocol being based in BNB and things like that made it harder for us to do promotion and other things around the protocol. And so we needed a utility token, basically. That wasn't the reward token. We wanted to keep that BNB. So, but we did want to have a utility token. So we created one called Drinks. It's a BEP20 token on Binance Smart Chain. You can get it on PancakeSwap. You can also get it on our own site now. We have a website that's dedicated to the Drinks token, separate from the Speakeasy site. And we have a DEX that provided for us from the guys at BurnSwap. And so you can get your Drinks tokens right here. Just you can also do it on PCS if you want. But the nice thing is that the BurnSwap one automatically, you can turn this off, but by default, it will burn 0.5% when you're trading in Drinks. So that helps us to be deflationary. So you can get it on PancakeSwap, or you can get it from here directly. As I mentioned, it's a utility token. And also when we launched it, we wanted to make it a fair launch where there was no pre-sales or anything like that. The Speakeasy Treasury provided all the liquidity for the launch of the token. And that liquidity is now locked in a multi-sig safe. And so we're off to the races with this. When we launched, our initial price was set at 4.0 Zenith 2. With about 475 million tokens put into liquidity. If we look really quickly at our chart, the first thing you'll notice is it is not like a typical token chart, in that it doesn't have that roller coastering effect. We took off as most do, and really didn't see a lot of correction to the downside. And there's a very specific reason for this, which I'll mention in a second. So this is our first week's chart up to this point. So we're just hanging in this area right now.
Can we see the chart right now? Right now, I've only got your one screen up. You might have to flip screens.
Oh, did I? Oh, it doesn't do tabs. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did have the chart up. Let me. Sorry.
If not, I can bring this down and pop the new one back up.
Now, let's see here. Here we go. There it is.
There we go.
So yeah, so this is the chart that we're that we're working with currently. This is again just a little over a week, about 10 days now. Actually, time flies. We have built from a market cap of I think we started of a market cap about 20 grand, and now we're at 122,000, and more than doubling our liquidity. So, and we're staying very consistent within this range that you're seeing at the top above the line there. And the main reason that is, and we haven't seen any serious crashes to the downside after the original buildup, is because we had a really aggressive campaign with our community, educating them to stake their drinks tokens rather than just holding them and then watching the spike go up. And so there was a challenge within our community to take a pledge to buy and stake their tokens for 60 days. And a large percentage of people have done that. In fact, over 50% of all drinks tokens purchased so far are now in our staking contract. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of volatility in our chart, which has been great. And so let me go back. I think I'll have to stop screen and do that again. I didn't realize it wouldn't do the tabs.
And so you can stake. So once you purchase those drinks token, you can stake them from anywhere from 25 to 365 days.
Correct. Let me show you. I wonder if there's a way I could just share this whole thing so I don't have to keep going back and forth. Let's see. Window. Okay, I think I did it wrong. Okay, so now you should be able to see this whole thing.
Okay, yeah, I can see it now.
So now when I switch, it works. Sorry about that. So at any rate, yeah, the tokenomics we minted 1 billion tokens to start with, which isn't a huge number, and we cannot mint any more. So we are going to be a deflationary token. We put almost all of it half into the liquidity pool and the other half into the staking contract. Now, the other benefit for us doing this is that, of course, there is some taxes on this. It's 2% in, 2% out. And the taxes are returned to the Speakeasy treasury. And so now that becomes our third revenue source on the Speakeasy platform. In fact, one of the things that we now show here in the protocol is what we're doing with drinks. And so currently we cycle through this fairly quickly. So right now we got about $1,200 worth of tax revenue sitting there, but we've already put in over 7 BNB in tax revenue. So we've earned 12 BNB, I think, in a week, just in tax revenue that we're feeding right back into our pot to pay out rewards. We're also as a treasury starting to burn some drinks tokens, not a ton, but we are doing it, plus the burn swap burn. So we are already, deflationary in that sense. So, but yes, the staking contract is again on our page. And as you mentioned, it's right. This is what it looks like. Basically, you just put in the amount you want to stake, and then you determine how long you want. The minimum is 25 days, and that's what it takes to cover the taxes that you pay so that you're actually making money or making token. And you can go all the way up to 365 days. But the rate that we pay is the same. It's 60% APR flat. So you can choose how long you want to stake, and you're going to earn that 60% for that period of time. So you have that flexibility.
Makes it easy. Okay.
Yeah, it's really easy. So, and to wrap up the drinks. So again, the drinks token, now we have this working in the ecosystem. We're doing well with it, just like we are with the regular protocol. But it gives us not just what we've seen already in staking functionality, but it also is giving us the ability to do some other utility functions that are really important. for instance, these are ones that we're going to be rolling out over the next several weeks and months now that we've got the token up and we've established a baseline price. One of the things that we're going to be able to do is, remember from the very beginning, I was showing buying the membership key card. Well, we're going to be able to offer a way to get that same status. Instead of buying the membership key card, you'll be able to buy and stake a certain amount of drinks tokens in order to get your membership into the program. So that may appeal to some people more than buying an NFT, or they also see the benefit of, well, hey, it's still my drinks tokens. If I'm staking it, I'm earning while they're staked, and I'm getting the bonus for being a member. So it provides us with some flexibility in things like that, as well as providing boosts. You mentioned that you have the shot NFT, which is our special NFT that gives you a 0.2% boost a day just by holding it. We'll be able to do similar things, similar APR boosts again with people either buying and holding or buying and staking drinks tokens, so that we can always keep a demand for these tokens high and keep the price point higher as well. We also, as you may be familiar, we do have a secondary market for our NFT sales. And on the lower end of those, the ones that have the smaller boost, we have more of those in inventory, if you will, for people trying to sell them than the bigger ones. And so we go in as a treasury occasionally and sweep the floor and try to buy some of those small ones, but we can't totally keep up with that. So this will also give us another way to take some of those off the market and buy them from our members using drinks tokens, and then just burn those, creating, more scarcity in the total number of cocktail NFTs that are out there. Then also, we've already started doing this. We are working with other protocols, doing promotions. We've done promotions already with Foodtopian. We've done promotions with BurnSwap and a couple of others. And we're looking to do something with the food token, with the food and drinks. That's an obvious tie-in. So it gives us the flexibility to do those kinds of things with other protocols that we share, sort of ethics and with, and then also it just allows us, as we move forward, to come up with creative new things that we can do with the token. And again, as you can hopefully see at this point, it's again not replacing what we currently have, but enhancing and supplementing it without replacing it.
Yeah, I agree. It really is a supplement. That's a good word for it. So it's kind of nice. So it looked like when I was messing around on here that from the website, from the Speakeasy website that I'm, used to using to operate the Dapp, if you just click on that drinks section, it takes you over to really a new, just a slightly different UI that gives you the option to buy and swap or stake the drinks token and all that type of stuff. Explains everything. So it's really kind of a separate Dapp that's complementary. But it's hosted on its own site and all that, right?
Yeah, and you can just there's links back and forth between the two. So when you're on here, you can just hit drinks and go to the drinks page. When you're on the drinks page, you can just hit Speakeasy and go back to the Speakeasy page.
Nice.
So you can get back and forth between the two.
Cool. I like this UI too. It's just nice and clean, easy to see.
Yeah,
and I also like that you guys partnered with the guys over at BurnSwap, because I know those guys and they're awesome, and they've been helpful with some of our stuff too. So it's nice. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this, and I've been saying this on a lot of videos and stuff lately, that when the good projects owners and the good developers and the people that are kind of like-minded and actually want to do honest stuff in the space can kind of collaborate, it's really nice to be able to do some of these cross promotion things. So it looks like you've accessed that, and I love it.
Yeah, I thank you, and I agree 100%. It's just so much nicer to be able to, work with protocols and get to know guys. I've gotten to know a bunch of guys. I've gotten to know you and the team doing the Foodtopian thing as an example, and we can all help each other succeed. And I'm really into that.
Definitely.
Okay. So I have one more thing, which is the new thing. We've been working on something new, and as soon as I found out I was going to be doing an AMA with you, I said, well, this is the perfect time to announce this, since we do work together on certain things. So awesome. Let me roll right into it. Basically, what we're going to be doing is creating a new Speakeasy location. There'll be the Speakeasy one that we already have, and now which is the one that I reviewed, which is Speakeasy running on the BNB token. That's still staying, but now we're going to open a second location, just like Foodtopian is opening second trucks and such. And
Yep.
this one is going to run on the drinks token, so you'll be able to either go into or stay in the BNB one, or participate in a second one that is just running the drinks token. So what we're going to be doing is this. It's a similar setup. There'll be 6 cocktail NFTs in the drinks version of Speakeasy. We haven't set the exact APRs yet, but again, since this is our own native token, we should be able to be a bit more aggressive with what we're paying out than we can be with BNB. But
I assume that just kind of locks up the token, right? I mean, you're just really locking up more supply, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, between the staking, it is possible, because we decided to go with such a relatively small amount of tokens up front. It's possible that once this goes live, we would phase out the staking and put this in basically in replacement of it. But if we do that, just to make sure that there's ample tokens around, if we do that, of course, we would honor everybody that's currently staked. It just wouldn't take any new stakes. So as people started to wind down their stakes, they could take those out and then put them into the drinks version of Speakeasy. Excuse me. Sorry.
No problem.
I had some tea. It went down the wrong way.
Yeah, it's the worst when you're trying to
talk. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not saying we're absolutely going to do that, but we're looking at that just to make sure that we've got enough tokens in the ecosystem. So, but these will work just like the other cocktails do in the BNB version, in that there will be varying rates, and we're also going to be doing a live mint of these cocktails, just like we did when we started the main Speakeasy protocol, which will allow everybody to get in at a much more affordable price for these cocktails, as we did at the very beginning. I think we were selling a 0.5 BNB, and now some of them are 2 and 3 BNB on the secondary market. So yeah, you'll be able to do that. And as we roll through, we'll obviously be updating everybody on what the actual percentage rates are. But now we're also going to add an interesting new twist to this that we don't have in the BNB version, and that's what we're calling the wild card NFT. Now, the wild card NFT is going to be sort of like the shot NFT, except the bonus will be variable and will come and go. So if you hold one of these wildcard NFTs, let's say it might come out and you'll get a boost of 0.5% for a week, and then it'll go away. Or it's
almost just like a little dynamic lottery thing. You hold the NFT, then it gives you special access to some random bonus that'll come and go.
That's right. So add a little bit more gamification to the system, and so I think it's going to be fun. And so we'll roll out more of that coming up. But that's completely new to this version, and so it'll add a little fun to it as well, and give us a chance to allow people to earn that and just add some more fun to the protocol. So here's the tentative rollout schedule at this point. It's not going to happen anytime very soon, but basically the way we're going to roll it out is we have a subgroup called the Back Room, which gets opportunities first usually and things. So what we're going to do first is do sort of a pre-registration, and to get on, kind of like a whitelist, but to get in line when we actually do the live mint. There'll be different time sets for when you can go in and do your live mint. And so this will set that up. So the first people that'll have a chance to get in that line are our Backroom subscribers. and they'll be able to do that on Friday of this week. And then we'll do a member registration, which means anybody that holds one of our 2 key card types will then be able to get on the list after that. And then we'll do general registration. Then currently the live mint is set for July the 14th. And so we'll go through a different time slot, like I said, of everybody coming through and doing the live mint with a tentative launch date of July 22nd. And then we will, be live with this. So this is tentative. It's probably generous. If anything, we would probably go earlier than this. I always like to, under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
So, but at this point, I feel very comfortable. I saw Kerm's comment about Jack T, the dev of Frostflakes, who's also my dev and partner on this project. Tons of shout outs to Jack. Without him, none of this would be happening. He's going to be taking a little bit of a leave for a couple of weeks. So that's another reason why this timeline's a little bit longer. But I've already talked to him about all this and this launch timeline, which he's comfortable with. So I think that we'll definitely hit that. But if we can do it any sooner, we will.
Okay. So let me think through that real quick. So if you want to get into this one, but you don't want to sit around and wait for the drinks token to continue to appreciate in price, not a bad idea then, maybe, of course, non-financial advice, but not a bad idea then to pick up some of those drink tokens, stake them, so you're getting that 60%.
You beat me to the punch. To the punch. The reason that we did the 60-day challenge is so that those stakes would be coming open right at the same time that this was going to launch. So this was done on purpose that way for the people who are in the protocol. We picked 60 days for a reason. So, but it's only been a week, so you could go in and stake for 53 days or whatever, and still have your everything ready to go for it by the time this launches. But yes, I agree with you. The idea is if you know about this project now, you can get some drinks tokens now at a pretty affordable price and go ahead and stake those and see what happens in another 6 weeks or so.
Definitely. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that was on my list. I know we talked last week and you kind of were bringing up the basics of the opportunity. I was thinking about grabbing some of those tokens, but I was out of town. So now that I'm back, it feels like maybe I should squeak in and stake them and then get ready for this, coming in July.
Yeah, and everything that we're trying to do now is to really use this token as a utility token and continue to keep that price pressure on. As an example, the back room that I mentioned before, it's a paid thing to be a part of it. And it was like $50 for a quarter. So for 3 months, it was $50. So not super expensive, but still some. But this quarter now we've moved to drinks being the payment system. So people have to buy new drinks and
more utility.
More utility. So we're going to be looking at all the ways that we can to continue to encourage people to buy the token and use it in our ecosystem so that we can either then as a treasury decide to burn some of that or hold on to it or recycle it back into the system if need be. So, we're trying to create our own volume basically.
Yeah. I like that idea though. What do you do with those tokens? If you buy into the back room with the drinks tokens, are you burning those? Or are you putting them in a treasury?
We're doing 50-50 with that. We're burning half of it and just holding the other half.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so
that's a dope idea. I really like that. I like that angle, and we watched a bunch of devs do it, but we watched Forex do it with the BREEP token and just be able to add utility from his previous projects into the new ones. And so taking a page out of that book is just a great idea. If you're going to build out an ecosystem over time and you want it to last, the more use cases or the more utility for the token or whatever you have in your ecosystem, the better. Because over time, you need to give people reasons to own them and use them and burn them. And, otherwise, like a lot of the protocols we've seen, they just get a little bit of hype in the beginning and they get burned out because that utility is never created.
Right, exactly. So we're strong on that from day one, and I'm looking forward to, again, working, coming up with creative ideas with other protocols, again, like Foodtopian and Burn Swap and stuff, to say, hey, can we, in some way sort of accept each other's tokens, and figure out a way to create utility across platform potentially. Things like that. I love those type of ideas.
Yeah.
So,
And
it's
totally
important.
possible. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility at all. We're all running on the Binance Smart Chain,
Mhm.
and like you said, food and drinks. I mean, those go together really nicely. So there's definitely some opportunity there for
Well,
us.
yeah, and even if it's not the token, like I think we did when I first found out about Foodtopian through you, I just decided as a backroom deal that we went and just bought 20 of the pizza NFTs, just as a treasury, and resold them for $5 less, and some food tokens. Also, we pitched in that to the backroom members, and I sold all 20 of those in like about 4 hours. So,
That's awesome.
I like doing things like that. And we also got one of your meal deal ones as well. So we're in
Mhm.
for the long haul. So I
Which is
like doing
which is
that kind.
awesome because you get paid out over time. It's another revenue source. You're supporting, our platform. We're supporting yours. It's nice to see.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that a lot of times, like, it's people, are like, "Oh, don't talk about another project,"
I
in
hate
your
that.
chat and
I
stuff. And
hate that.
yeah, and I'm
It's not
like,
a
"No,
zero
man."
sum game. It's not a zero sum game. People are going to go whatever direction they want. I mean, there's protocols out there that look really cool, and for whatever reason, it's not for me at that time. But I think it's great if people want to talk about them. And sometimes I'm going to get into different things. I don't think. I think the people have this scarcity mindset that there's just not enough money to go around.
Yeah.
But if you create great things, people will come toward it. And if another protocol creates something that's new and innovative, like, you should definitely not be frustrated that they came out with a really cool concept. You
Yeah.
you can use your own brain power to come out with something even better and pull those investors back. This is part of the game of having a free market.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Scott. And it's just like what I was saying when I was first pitching this, when we first got started, is, this is an iterative process. DeFi is still in its infancy, and we mentioned Jack earlier. He built a product called Frost Flakes, which was a portion. This is a soft fork of that, really soft. We did a lot to it, but the basic concept was there, and we iterated. I looked at Frost Flakes and I said, "Man, this is cool. I think we can do this, this, and this, and make it even better." And Jack was like, "Yeah, these are great ideas. And I learned stuff from doing Frost Flakes that I'd like to implement in this." And so, like you're saying, it's an iterative process. There's by no means have we got this all figured out yet. But if your heart is in the right place and you're not looking to, hurt people or steal from them, then, I think you can, rightfully take some chances and try new ideas. And if people want to back that, that's great. And if you can put other projects that are doing the same thing in front of people that might not see it otherwise, which is like what the purpose of the back room is, then, I think so much the better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good to see. And Crypto Watch is my admin, the boss of the chat. But she says it's lovely to have different protocols join together, support one another. I couldn't agree more. Like I said, it's not a zero sum game. Working together is going to be helpful. To your point, the iterative process of any business out there in the world is constant, right? If you want to survive, you're constantly changing and maybe changing marketing strategy, trying to innovate new products. That's just how it works if you're trying to ever grow any type of business. That's what I think some people don't realize when they are in the DeFi space. They expect everything to just be created perfect and it'll run forever and it'll pay somebody astronomical APRs and it'll just work forever and there will need to be no changes. That's not realistic. We don't see that in the real world, in the business world. And so it's just something we've got to do here. But like you said, if your heart's in the right place, you're not really trying to steal the money from anybody, and every change you make is for the betterment of the investors, then it's welcomed.
Agreed, 100%.
And another thing Frost Flakes ran its course and ended up burning out. 95% of the people were still 100% on board with Jack and his mission and what he was doing. He went through that whole process. very honest, and so people are continuing to support the
Oh yeah,
protocols.
I think people understood that by and large, and I mean, Speakeasy, again, not just Jack in terms of his skills as a developer, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that from the standpoint of the Speakeasy or the Frostflakes community came over in droves when we announced that we were going to be working together on the next thing, and it was the Speakeasy thing. I remember when we started our Telegram group, we had over 600 people in it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And people were excited, and we did our pre-sales of NFTs, and we generated over $100,000 in pre-sale NFTs for a protocol that wasn't launching for another 6 weeks. So there was just a lot of excitement and a lot of support within that community based on the trust that Jack had built up over time. And, hopefully I am doing the same thing now that we've been in this for 3 months and people have gotten to know me a little bit better and what I'm trying to do. So, we're just, nobody's perfect, and this protocol isn't perfect, but we're working hard, and we're trying to create a system that can sustain. And, at the very least, we're not rugging on you.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, that's
here's the thing with me right now, not to go off on a tangent, but if honest devs put together protocols and they do well for a while and then fail because of some deal, like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay to not make money on every protocol. The thing that really bugs me is the dishonest devs, right? If you get into it and then it rugs 3 weeks later or whatever, and it was just a big setup, and they faked their KYC or whatever it was. That stuff's really frustrating, and it's just worse on the DeFi space. But to go back to your earlier point, that's kind of actually how I got in touch with you. So originally, Frostflakes launched. I just waited a little too long to get in, and then after a certain point, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna chase the hype, and then I'm gonna get burned. So I didn't end up getting into Frostflakes, but I kept a close watch on it. And then we started talking about when he was starting to roll the new product out with you. I eventually just reached out and said, hey, let me know about this project. I'm interested in it because I've been kind of waiting on the sidelines. And then we developed a relationship, and then I got into the NFT mint and started talking with Jack and stuff as well offline. And so your reputation, both of your reputations preceded you, and I felt good. Like, I just want to work with honest devs. So that's how that relationship started. And of course, you can see it's gone really well now, and we're friends.
And I think for those that don't know my backstory, this is the first project that I've been the team lead on, but I've been very involved in working with EMP, and I'm the creator of the EMP Academy, which is their learning academy. And I've worked very closely with AJ Brockman, who probably most of you know. He's an amazing person, and I'm so fortunate to call him a mentor of mine. And he's, again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. So all of this type of stuff, it's the classic story, right? You get to where you're going with other people helping you who have gone there before. And, so I hope to try to do that, for others as I can. And I totally agree with you. I was thinking about it when you were talking about Frostflakes and Jack. Yeah, I didn't ROI in Frostflakes. I came in too late, but I still loved the project. And to me, it was the best money I ever spent because I made a great friend in Jack, and I met a bunch of other people, and I started this project. So, it was totally worth it.
Completely. And I think people, a lot of people with the short-term mindset and this, scarcity mindset don't realize that sometimes in a roundabout way, you're just paying for education, and they're not okay with that, but I'm perfectly okay with that. Most people that have a long-term mindset are. Just everything you get into, or every thing that you feel like you wasted money on, a lot of times there's really good learning experiences in those, or there's a really good support system. Like, I mean, some of this stuff, some of these protocols haven't gone well, but the community is awesome. And so I've become really close friends with people all around the globe, yourself included. And, and it ends up paying a lot more dividends than it would have if you would have, quote unquote, ROI'd, and then, you would have made money. So there's more than just the money making.
And it really is. And I think that, you don't have to be a team leader, a dev in a project to have that idea and mentality work for you. I have had it work for me, all this time before I ever decided to run a project. And, it's just really important, I think, to have the attitude of, like, I've always taken from the very beginning, crypto to me is like, I consider myself like a little teeny tiny VC, a little teeny tiny venture capitalist, and take the attitude of, I'm going to go into 10 projects with the hopes that one of them hits. I'm going to lose money on 9 out of 10 every time. But if I hit that one, it's going to make up for all that. And even if it doesn't, like you're saying, I'm going to have a lot of experiences, because I'm not passive about these things. I like to get in the mix and talk to people that are involved with it. If I can get a hold of the people on the actual team, I will do it. And that kind of curiosity brought me to the place where I am now. Not everybody's going to want to run their own project, but doesn't mean that you have to be, even if you're just an investor with a relatively small bag, that doesn't mean that this is any different for you than it is for myself or you. Everybody can do this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sometimes it comes in roundabout ways. Like, I had no plans whatsoever to have my own project, and our Foodtopian thing just kind of came out of left field. We had been talking about how it would be a cool idea to do this, but was not on our number one spot on the list. But eventually we just said, hey, I think we can do this if we just make these few moves. And for me, I've learned a ton about DeFi. I'm not an expert, I'm not a developer, but I know business very well, and marketing and strategy and consumer psychology and all that stuff. So for me, it was just trying to figure out, okay, well, if I got a back end genius like Keith on Made Sugar, if we can have him do the stuff that's coming into my mind on the back end, and then Lee's the major player actually really running the boots on the ground stuff, if we can put our minds together, could we create a crypto project with real external revenue? And then it just kind of came out of nowhere. So there was no intention to do that originally, but as you learn and grow, you start to realize, like, maybe we could just leverage this and use some of our real life business experience to get people an ROI, bring in some investors. And so it's really a very cool, I don't know, it's a cool journey. I feel like we're just in the very early stages of the bell curve as far as what DeFi is going to be able to do, and really crypto in general. And so to be able to kind of be at the forefront and implementing some of that stuff early now is great, because I think it will be commonplace in like 5 years.
I totally agree. And I think that, the promise of DeFi, without getting all evangelical about DeFi, but the promise of what it can do, particularly in, I don't know about you, but I've talked to a lot of people who are, I'm based in the United States, and I know you are, but, and a lot of people involved in, other Western European capitals and things like that. But I've talked to a lot of people over the years now that I've been in that are, in countries like, I don't know, I'm just picking off the top of my head, like Argentina or Venezuela, some of these South American countries. And this is life-changing, this is life-changing. And, on a real world thing, I mean, they are paying for their homes and taking care of putting food on the table for their families doing this. And that's just amazing to me. I mean, I just think it's great to be able to create something like this, and work with people that you don't know all over the world. Like, obviously I've never met Jack in person yet. I've done this entire thing. I think I've maybe talked to him on the phone 4 or 5 times. We just mostly do it by chat. It's just wild.
It is wild. Yeah.
That we're able to do this. And, I just really love it. And I agree with you. This is just the beginning of it, and it'll be amazing to see where we are in a few years.
For sure. Yeah. Even with my own project, I was talking to the boys the other day. It would be really interesting to see where we're at like this time next year. And that's another prime example. Same thing. I've never met either of those guys face to face. We've talked a lot, through voice chats and all that. And obviously, we're docs, we see each other on camera and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they've got all my info, home address, social security number, because we had to register with the UK to get our business registration, everything set up. But I don't know. I think there's just certain people in there you realize are your type of people, and you can work together toward a common goal, and you just hit it and don't look back. And it seems like that's what you guys have done as well.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by Foodtopian. I can't wait to see how it goes, because it's so funny. A lot of people will, and I get this a lot. In Q&As when I'm doing AMAs and stuff, lots of people are always like, "Hey, have you thought about doing anything real world and putting it in?" And people talk about this all the time, but very few people actually do it. And so that's what's really interesting to me about this particular project you guys have going. Is it's not just a little toe dipping in the real world. I mean,
it's exactly. It's very much. Yeah. I'm in another project. It's kind of a limited project called Flex IRA, and
I'm in it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're in it too, and they've done like some. They've got some different external sources. They've got some little rental stuff that, they're working on all that kind of stuff, but that's not the whole business. You know what I mean? So that's what's weird about, and unique about Foodtopian is it's all real world utility. You're going to be able to actually see the trucks, see us actually, selling the product or whatever. You can visit them if you're in the area and actually do business with us, and interact with our tokens and stuff. So it's very different, and it's different from other protocols out there in that, we're processing transactions constantly every day. And so that revenue stream, you're seeing the money go in the till, and you're seeing the contract balance, have enough funds in there to pay people out for their investments. Yeah. So it's just a very hands-on experience. And so I don't know, I think it'll make people feel warm and fuzzy when they see those transactions happening, and
absolutely,
getting paid their B&B.
And I don't know who said this, but I read it somewhere in one of I don't know if it was the main one or the Dow chat, but somebody was talking about setting up live streams. And I'm like, oh great, I can just see this being now my new little obsession. I'm just sitting there,
time waster. Yeah.
It's a live stream of a food truck going, oh wow, look, we're selling a lot of that sandwich today.
Oh man, it's funny, but that's the real deal. Our plan is to, at some point here soon, and hopefully it's going to be this fall. We're trying to arrange everything. Obviously, we want to get in profit and get everything running, but
sure,
I need to get over there in the UK for some marketing stuff, so we can kind of get everything set up and start off on the right foot. But while I'm there, we got to do some content, so we'll get some cameras up in the food trucks and stuff, and we'll wander around. People can make fun of my American accent and stuff, and I just think that will be a really cool, very different marketing scheme that most people aren't going to get that type of interaction. YouTube is such an interesting marketing platform because some people come just for the information. But a lot of it's just like an entertainment aspect.
Sure.
And so if you can be entertained and fed and paid out by your investment, it's just an interesting mixture. It's an interesting recipe for success, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
But super cool. Oh man, well that was that hour went by super fast, man. Yeah,
good times.
It went by super fast. You had 3 slides, and we took the whole hour. So let's recap it real quick, because I did notice a few people said, hey, we came in a little bit later, so I just want to recap kind of what we talked about, and you can hit any details. But we originally just discussed the Speakeasy protocol, the original one, how it works with minting your NFTs that will give you an additional percentage, and then you can stake them in there and earn your B&B. Then we moved over to the Drinks token, which you recently launched, and how you can actually stake the Drinks token, and the fact that there's some interoperability between the two platforms. Then you dropped that you're about to come out with a new platform that will run on the Drinks token. So similar to Speakeasy, but a second location that instead of running on B&B will run on these Drink tokens. And that's going to be available in July. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right.
All of that is correct.
Awesome. It's good when I get it right. But any other things you want to talk about with that? I don't know if we have any questions, guys. If you guys have any questions, I know we covered a lot, and sometimes we're so thorough there aren't any questions, but if you have any, drop them in the chat real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think we covered a lot of ground. I would, of course, just invite people over to our Telegram if they have more questions. I'm there a lot. And our bartenders, which are our mods, are there as well, and they're very knowledgeable about how the whole system works. And we've really got a lot of new eyes on the project, which was another reason we wanted to do the token, because people get drawn to tokens just in general.
For sure.
And so we've gotten a lot of new energy coming in and new eyes, and we've gotten not just new investors in drinks, but people that have actually gone into Speakeasy as well, just by association. So it's really worked well so far, and I think this new edition will be even more interesting and give people a reason to stay in our ecosystem for a longer period of time.
Definitely. And when you've got your own token, like you said, there's a lot of flexibility of what you can do with it and what you can offer. I like the wild card idea. That's going to be cool for that protocol. So I'm really interested in that one. At first when you kind of were referencing it, I'm like, okay, you got another one. That's really interesting, but I'm already in this one. So should I just double down? But you've got some unique selling points of that one that makes me want to get into both. So that's of course what I'll be doing.
Yeah. And then we're also looking at ways of maybe having some synergies between the two over time. So, you just never know. I mean, it's possible that, I'm spitballing. If Jack is listening to this, he probably would shoot me.
Yeah.
But it could be possible someday where maybe you could have the option of saying, okay, your week comes up in Speakeasy. Do you want to claim, or do you want to let it ride, or do you want to let it ride in the drinks version? We'll just, move, you over there, or the other way around, So there's a lot of ideas floating around in my crazy brain, but for now, we're keeping them totally separate. But, yeah, but I think it's interesting, and will give us, a lot more flexibility, without, it was just really important to me not to change what we already had.
Yeah.
I know this, but I've been in several protocols, as I know, sure you have, starts with an F, ends in an O, that, change the rules midstream.
Once that starts happening, it's like you get the initial one and it's like, okay, it's for longevity. You get another one, and then you start to feel like it's going to be a constant, and which in many cases it is. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the rules getting changed a lot, at least if it's not incrementally, if it makes sense just over time. Of course, you want things to be sustainable.
Sure.
But slight changes are fine, and some pivots and stuff, but too much change, too fast, too much going on. It just seems like even if they are for the betterment of the protocol, generally speaking, the sentiment tanks. And then you got a bank run. People want to get out. They're not happy with it. You got all these bad videos coming out. It's just a lot of drama to add in that maybe, the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, agree. Well, all right. I think that's good. I don't know if we had any questions, but I'm happy to stick around and answer if there are any.
Doesn't look like too many came through. Okay. We had some earlier that just talked a little bit about the external revenue sources. Why don't you just touch on that again about, because the guy said he came late. So, EMP, of course, Wolf, just all the kind of things you're doing for external revenue for Speakeasy.
Yeah, it was interesting because that's been sort of an iterative process too, right? When I originally envisioned the concept for Speakeasy, my original idea was just using EMP. And in fact, that's how I really got to know Jack, is when I found the Frostflakes project. I reached out to him and was trying to convince him to invest Frostflakes funds into EMP. Because I just thought it would be a good vehicle for him, and he was committed to the strategy he had, so that never happened. But that's what sparked our friendship and conversation. And so when I was first putting it together, I was initially thinking just EMP, and then as time got closer, there's a guy. Do you know? I'm sure you know SK, right? SK Crypto. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's also an investor in EMP, and I got to talking to him, and he started evangelizing elephant money, and which I knew about, but I had never been in. So I had to take a deep dive and figure that out. And then because I thought, well, diversity can't be that bad. And I think with the exception of Drip, I don't think there's any other protocols that have lasted as long as than Drip, EMP, and Elephant. I think are probably at least on Binance.
Top three
are the top three. So I'm like, yeah. So I decided that, and then actually, you were the reason that we started to get into Elephant to Wolf, because I saw that you were doing a wolf pack there, and again wanted to be supportive of you and what was going on with people that I liked. So we dropped some money into your team, your STI team, and so then I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this protocol for a little bit. And the more I watched it, the more I liked it. And, we started going in more and more into it. And so now we have a fairly decent sized presence there. And, they've just done really well so far. So, so will that happen with another protocol? Who knows? I mean, it's not on my radar, but Wolf wasn't really on my radar either. So
yeah, for sure. That one kind of came out of nowhere and was, it's been extremely successful, and they're doing some new things with some NFTs. So I think that's going to pump their TVL. So it's good. Another prime scenario where Speakeasy is awesome. I also like Wolf. We're making money in both. And in fact, the Wolf capital revenue that's getting generated over there is feeding into Speakeasy to keep paying people. So it's
in a serious way.
It's another example that if you can work together and leverage, and it's not just siphoning money from one spot to the other, but if you do it in a calibrated way, then it could mean longevity for both protocols, and then investors make more money and they're happier, and the DeFi space in general just becomes a better place, because we're tired of these dirtbag devs that rug pull. Super frustrating. You never know exactly who those ones are going to be, and so when you find good ones, you hang on to them as long as you can.
Yeah, no, it's very hard. I get. There was, without naming any names, there was a opportunity that came to me personally, highly recommended by a couple of different guys that were in it. And, it was like a private Telegram group. And so I jumped in there, and it was just like out of who's who of DeFi in this room. And this wasn't a Speakeasy thing again, it was me personally. And so I talking to the main guy, and it was a trading kind of thing. He was doing real life trades and that kind of thing. And so based on the people who I saw in the chat room, who I knew, and the people who referred me, I just sent the guy like $3,000 and said, okay. And the next day he rugged.
Yeah.
And I know these people lost more than I did, but I'm just like, you just, like you said, you just don't know. You don't know. You can seem, totally legit to somebody who's well versed in who all these people are, and it still happens. So it is frustrating, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I know. And you don't know. And I wish, for our sake, especially as for my sake as a content creator, I wish I could pick every winner. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You never know. I was even concerned a little bit, even though I really liked the guys over at Wolf. I was concerned, hey, what happens when they get to 1 million TVL? And they're like, whoa, this was a big success. That's a lot of money sitting at your disposal, and money blinds people to their value.
Absolutely.
So I was even, once we got to 1 or 2 million, I was like, okay, now I'm concerned. And then right at that 60-day mark, when you can withdraw your funds, that was like the point where I was like, okay, it's going really smoothly, but I am watching closely. But of course, we got past that. They made a change to the APR to bring it down to what was more sustainable for them, for what they were actually earning. And that was an example where the change was made, and everyone's like, I get it, and that's a reasonable rate still, and that's the only change you're really making. But yeah, I had concerns about that one, only right in that mid-range. It's turned out to be really good. And then another one, just like what you were talking about, where the guy was trading. I knew a bunch of people in there who, were real honest people, and they're like, yeah, he's solid. I've done protocols with him in the past. And so it was, again, a who's who in there. And then I don't think the guy rugged. I actually think he lost the money trading, but but it's all the same. It's no different. Right? Investor money's gone. Everyone gets burned, and it's really frustrating. And you don't know which ones are going to go your way and which ones aren't. And in the DeFi space, if you want to make money, you do have to do a little bit of gambling on some of these. Try to do your research, get into them, see if they work, and then hope the ones that work really well. And then for me, I'm hoping that over the next 6 months or so, I meet enough devs that are super honest that we can just constantly support each other's new projects or iterations of projects or whatever, to where we've got like a syndicate of 20 devs that are known to be extremely solid, and they're happy to work together and and pump everyone's bags, and we can kind of leave the unknowns alone. But maybe
I love that idea. I love it. All right, man.
Cool.
Well, this has been like super fun.
Yeah, it's been great. We probably waited too long to do this one.
Yeah.
I know we kind of flirted with it a while back, and I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we got it done, because I was going to cover this stuff anyway, but it's much better to get you on and hear it directly from you. Why don't we plan to do? Let's see, we're basically in June now. Why don't we plan to do a July AMA right around this time this is going to launch?
Yeah, that would be great.
We can get some good hype on it and get people knowing what to expect.
Yeah, and I'll be obviously rolling out more information in our Telegram group. So for those of you who aren't involved with our community yet, but this sounds interesting to you, I'm always dropping stuff over there, so you can find out over the next month or 6 weeks as we get closer, how this is going to go, and get on that registration list and all that stuff as we get closer. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, let's definitely do that. That would be great.
Sounds good. Sounds good, my friend. Well, that was the AMA with Kirk from Speakeasy. If you guys still want more information about how actually get into the protocol, I do have a video on it. It's a full tutorial. You can check that out or hit us up in the chats. Don't forget to join his Telegram. And we just appreciate everyone for supporting the project. And thanks for tuning in today, guys.
Cheers.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you.